Hey, hello, and welcome to this episode of Learn Everyday English, your roadway to English proficiency. Hey, glad to have you with me today. As you can see, I'm not in the studio, I'm outside. And with this helmet I have on my head, I guess you can guess what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to take the bicycle, or take the e-bike, the electric bike, out for a spin, as we say in English, out for a spin. That means I'm just going to go for a ride. I'm going to go around the block. But actually, I'm going to do more than just go around the block. I'm going to maybe go out riding for about an hour, and I'll maybe see what we can find. I'll maybe show you a few things around the area and around the neighborhood. But before I hop on the bike, say hop on the bike or get on the bike, there are 3 things that you can do for me. Hey, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and 3, tell your friends about it so that they can benefit from these videos too, just like you. Let me show you my e-bike before I get going. And those of you that have been watching the channel for a while maybe remember the video I did about my e-bike. And I can say the e-bike has been a godsend. A godsend. That's an expression we use. That means it's been a great benefit for me. In essence, it's like something that was sent from God. Because as you know, about a year ago, I was diagnosed with gastroparesis, and my health was much worse than it is now. It's much better. So last year, I couldn't really walk very far, maybe down to the end of the block and back. I would get tired, but now I've just been doing a lot more walking. I can walk around the neighborhood, or it's about a 2-mile loop, and I'm okay with that. So I've been doing more walking than riding my e-bike lately, but I'm going to try to get back into riding it more often. I do ride it maybe once a week. But let me show you my e-bike. It's a Rad Power bike, and it's a Rad City, so I really like it. So this is my e-bike, and I have a bag on the back, which I have a lot of tools in case I get a flat. I can change the tire, and I did a lot of upgrades on it. If you want to listen to that or know what I did, you can watch the video. I'll put a link in the description, but just want to show you a few things. This is actually the battery, but I bought some stickers and put on the bike, and this says e-bike, like a normal bike, but way cooler. And this says, never underestimate an old guy on an e-bike. That's me, an old guy, maybe not that old. And also, this is a speaker, wireless JBL speaker I put on here because I like to listen to music while I ride. And here's a holder where I have my cell phone. So I'm ready to ride, as we say. So without further ado, let me hop on the bike and let's get going. Well, it's a beautiful day for a bike ride. It's a Sunday morning, about 10 a.m. It's probably about 80 degrees, which for Texas is fairly cool. It's been getting pretty warm, though, in the afternoons, and still humid. Still a lot of mosquitoes, though. Let me show you the route in front of me. It's coming riding down the neighborhood, then I'm going to go out of the neighborhood and show you a few other things. This is my the speedometer. You see I'm going about 16 miles an hour. Also have a throttle here on the bike, which my right hand, so I can just turn this here. It's like riding kind of a motorcycle, and the bike will move on its own. I don't have to pedal. So it's very convenient. Well, I've ridden up to the freeway. This is Interstate 45. Going north, you head up to Dallas. Going south, you head to Houston. I'm going to cross the freeway and take a little ride down a country road and show you that. So let's cross this freeway and see what we can find. Well, now we've crossed the freeway, and as you can see, looks like we're in the country or countryside, and we actually kind of are. So this is, I guess, maybe say a benefit of living in a small city. You don't have to go very far to get out of the hustle and bustle, we say, of the city, and kind of into the peace and quiet. Although there's a guy on a riding lawnmower across the street cutting his grass. As you can see behind me, there's a big open field. There's a lot of open space and land, and there are some horses. And I guess this may be stereotypical of Texas, but it's pretty common when you go out into the countryside. See a lot of livestock, which is like cattle and horses. Not a whole lot of sheep. But I want to tell you something that's interesting here in this city. Make sure I'm not standing near an ant pile, because around here there's a lot of fire ants, and they can crawl up your leg and bite, and it's kind of very painful. But here in the city, there are 7 prisons, and you might think it's dangerous, but actually it's very safe. I've lived here about almost 7 years, never had an inmate escape or any problems with that. It's much safer than, say, living in Houston. But there are 7 prisons, and actually the prison system, we call it the TDC, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, is the largest employer here in the city, and they hire about 4,300 people work for the TDC, or Texas Department of Criminal Justice, here in the city. So it is the largest employer. There's a university here, which is the 2nd largest employer, and the 3rd largest employer is we call the ISD, or the Independent School District. So there's 4,300 people, and I guess this city is known for having the first state prison in the state of Texas, called the Walls Unit, that was founded in 1848, so it's been around for a long time. When you think of Texas, you probably think of, or U.S. in general, you think of a lot of crime and shootings, so we got to have a lot of prisoners, or another word for prisoners are inmates. A lot of people we have to put in prison, and so this is where I guess a lot of them do go. And also there's a problem finding workers or keeping workers to work in the prison system. Currently, there are about 14, almost about 14,000 inmates or prisoners here just in this city alone. And like I said, it's a challenge for TDC to keep what we call corrections officers, the men and women that work in the prisons, kind of monitoring the inmates or prisoners. They're called corrections officers or correctional officers, but they're always looking for people to work. It's like, I guess we could say it's a high turnover rate. People come and people go very quickly. And as you can imagine, it's a job that is very demanding, very stressful, and a lot of people don't want to do that type of work. I know I wouldn't want to, dealing with inmates or prisoners every day. So behind me, it's interesting. They have about 14,000 prisoners, as I said. But this actually is prison property. And the prison system uses these horses behind me. I guess the corrections officers ride the horses, and they take the prisoners out in the fields maybe to do work outside, so they can monitor the prisoners and follow them around on horses. So you see this a lot around town at the various prison locations. There'll be horses in fields like this, we call them. So I think the prison system owns a lot of land in the area. So I'm gonna head on down the road, this country road, and show you something else down at the end of the road you might find interesting. So this is something else you might find interesting way out here in the country, but not too far from the city. There's what we call a lumber yard or a lumber mill, where they take in a lot of lumber, which is just trees that have been cut, and they bring them here and they put them in these big piles. As you can see, they spray water on them just to keep them moist, not dry out. And I also read that they do that to help with some type of insects that can get in the wood and create problems, and it helps somehow to alleviate the insect problem that's in the wood or in the trees in the lumber. This is a lumber yard, so they take the trees and they cut them up, and they can make lumber, wood that you can buy at, say, stores like Home Depot or Lowe's. You can build things out of them using the wood that's cut up into boards and lumber here at the lumber yard. Well, I rode across the freeway and sitting down here at a bench in a golf course in a neighborhood, a very large neighborhood called Elkins Lake. It's a pretty nice neighborhood. A lot of people move up here, say from Houston, after they retire, because it has a nice perk. We call it a perk, which is a nice benefit. There's a golf course here, and if you live in the neighborhood, I think if you pay, I look, maybe $200 a month, you can use the golf course. And that's a pretty good deal, because you can play as much golf as you want, I understand. So here's what it looks like. people drive around in these vehicles. We call them golf carts that they drive around in. And Elkins Lake, you would think, well, maybe is there a lake here at the subdivision? And yes, there is. I'll show you what that looks like. So as you can see, through the trees, there's a very nice lake. Like I said, this is a deal here. If you like to play golf, you can move up here and play as much golf as you want for about $200 a month. I pulled up some info on my iPhone because I'm not a golfer. I tried playing it when I was in college, but I realized it was not the game for me. But here's some information I found. If you want to play at a kind of a public golf course, it can range for a round of golf, which includes 18 holes, can range from $20 to $40 for that one time for playing 18 holes. Well, that's a municipal course owned, say, by a city. If you have a public course, it can range from $30 to $60 every time you play. If you want to play at, say, an elite or high-level public course or semi-private course, it can range from $60 to $120. If you want to play at a famous public course, it can range from $120 to $600. And if you join a private country club, normally that would cost you anywhere from $200 to $2,000 a month. So as you can see, golf can be a very expensive game to play. So living in a neighborhood like this where you just pay a flat fee and you can play golf every day if you want. So I think that's a bargain if you have the time and you have the money. Also wanted to tell you something that I forgot to mention earlier about the prison system in here, and executions are still going on here in Texas, and I wanted to give you some info. But since 1819, 1,330 people have been executed in Texas as of September 7th, 2022. So over 1,300 people. Between 1819 and 1923, 390 people were executed by hanging. That's by putting a noose or rope around your neck. But this law was changed in 1923, requiring that executions be done in an electric chair by electrocution. And this was actually carried out here in the city that I live in Huntsville, Texas. So from 1924 to 1964, 361 people were executed by electrocution. Then there was an 18-year gap where people weren't executed. But then after that, the method of execution was changed to lethal injection. And since 1982 and to date, there's 575 people have been executed by lethal injection here in the Huntsville unit. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of Learn Everyday English. Hopefully you liked that and found it interesting, something a little bit different. You can see a little bit more of Texas and the U.S. and how life is and what it looks like in small town Texas. So if you like the video, remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and 3, tell your friends about it. Well, we'll see you later. Keep listening and watching and keep working on improving your English. That's very important. So have a good day, rest of the week, wherever you are in this big blue marble we call the earth. And we'll check you next time on Learn Everyday English. Hey, we'll see you later. Goodbye.